Welcome to installment number 288 of the Mitzvahs as enumerated by Maimonides, the Rambam. Yesterday, we concluded one book of Maimonides called Sefer Kinyan, the Book of Acquisitions. Today, we begin a brand new book called Sefer Mishpatim, the Book of Judgments. And these are all sorts of court cases that might come up between people that have confusion amongst each other, and it needs to be determined who the winner is of these judgments. So today we start with Positive Commandment 243, which discusses the ins and outs of a paid watchman as well as a renter and the details of these positions. So before we get into that, just to give a little bit of a background of what we're talking about. The Torah describes four types of people that are watching a certain item for its owner. So on the one side of the spectrum, we have the unpaid watchman, somebody who is not being paid. And so the owner is getting the full benefit of somebody watching his item, while the watchman is not necessarily getting a benefit because he isn't being paid. While on the other end of the spectrum, we have the borrower. The borrower is the person who gets the full benefit of borrowing the item, using the item, but the owner is not necessarily getting benefit because he isn't being paid for the use of the item. So, of course, the unpaid watchman is not necessarily liable for what happens to the item because he isn't being paid. The borrower is, of course, liable for what happens because he is using it without payment. And then there is the intermediary, the one in between, the intermediate, I should say. And this is the paid watchman, somebody who is being paid to watch the item. So now there is benefit for both. There is the benefit of the owner whose item is being watched, and the benefit for the watchman who is being paid for watching the item. There is an additional, a fourth one, who is a renter. And this is a person who, like the borrower, right, is using the item, but he is paying for it. Now, what is interesting is, although there are four different people that we just named, the law is the same for the last two that we just mentioned, and that is the mitzvah of today, the paid watchman as well as the renter, because in both of these two cases, both people are benefiting. The owner who is having his item watched, as well as the one who is using the item is getting to use the item. In the case of the paid watchman, he is getting paid as well for watching the item. In the case of the renter, he is getting use of the item as well as the owner being paid for the use of the item. And therefore, the law is the same with both of these. What is the law? And it actually depends. It varies on the situation. In these cases, if something were to happen to the object, then they are liable. The watchman as well as the renter are liable unless it is something that is so out of their hands, like the ship sank or they were attacked by armed robbers and there was no way in the world that they could spare this item. In that case, they would not be liable, but otherwise they are indeed liable. Now, we are taught that just as a boss should not steal from his employee, an employee should not steal from his boss. And this includes even simply wasting time, just sitting around and fooling around and not properly using your time while working for your employer. This also includes not taking a nighttime job if you have a daytime job, because this is taking away from your productivity during the daytime. A teacher shouldn't necessarily take a nighttime job or eat certain foods during the nighttime, because it takes away from his productivity during the daytime. And this is very much associated as well with the purpose of our soul down on this earth. God puts our soul here on this earth for a particular reason. It needs to finish a certain task. It is here to accomplish something. And it is up to us to be sure that we are using our time wisely and actually elevating this world and making it a better place. Every single minute that we are not doing this, and every single minute that we are just using, wasting it and just sitting around idly, is in a sense stealing from the boss, stealing from God, this precious time that he gave us on this earth that is so limited, and we have no idea how much time we have to accomplish what we have to accomplish. So make sure to make every single minute count. Have a wonderful day.